Right, so we're just going to sing Jaya Radha Madhava, and then we'll read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Palaba Giri Varadari Gopi Jana Palaba Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jana Lalaba Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Everybody could please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this evening we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and we're reading from chapter 9, which is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge, text 2. Rajavidya Rajaguyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavagam Dharmayam Susukam Kartamavyayam. This knowledge, translation, this knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. Purport. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautama, Kanada, Kapila, Yajnavalkya, Shaudilya, and Vaishvarnara. And finally there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So, there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas in different kinds of philosophy. It is the most confidential knowledge because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge accumulates in devotional service. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They're educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world and many huge universities. But there is, unfortunately, no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the 2nd chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. Antavanta ime deha nityas yukto sharinaha. That is a confidential part of knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible, and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body, and that when the body is finished, or when one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? It is always active. It's a long purport. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active, and it activates in the spiritual kingdom. And its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of spiritual knowledge. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of knowledge. All right, so we could stop there and discuss, because the purport goes on a few more pages, but we could stop there and discuss what we heard so far. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Maditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karitavachalam Pangam Langayate Girimbya Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitaranam Vancha Kapadrubhisha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavadebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Translation again. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self, by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. Pawan, do you think you could get the clock that's on this table right here and just give it to me, please? So I know what time it is and I don't keep on speaking when I'm not supposed to. Because I could keep on speaking, but I don't want to keep on speaking if I'm not supposed to. All right. Thank you. So how many people here tonight are from South India? Can you raise your hands? Okay. So 1, 2, 3. You're not from South India, huh? Just your parents are. I guess you're from America. You're born here, right? Okay. Your parents are. I'm sure probably maybe most of you have seen, maybe all of you, but in South India, right? They just installed what, Ramanujacharya, right? What is it?
Ramanujacharya statue of Ether.
Yeah, Ramanujacharya statue Murti. It's like 280 feet or something like that. Quite big.
Second largest sitting.
Oh, really? Second largest
Sitting statue in the world.
in the world? Really? Wow. What's the first one? All right. Wow. Okay.
I heard it was the first.
You heard it's the first. He heard it's the second. I guess we gotta. What authorities we're listening to, right? But it's a good sign, actually. It's a good sign that means the world hasn't become such a deep, dark dungeon of struggle and suffering that people don't think to do things like what they did. But people are still thinking, and they did it. It's not that they were just thinking, oh, let's put a big Murti of Ramanujacharya. They thought about it, and they raised funds because I'm sure it was expensive to do that. And then they did it. And there's, so that's quite nice. So I was very happy to see that. See Ramanujacharya Murti. And I remember I was in an airport in, I forgot where it was, Calcutta or somewhere. Maybe it wasn't, anyway, somewhere in India. Sometimes when you're flying around, especially when you're going here and there, it's hard to remember where you were exactly. But because I was traveling in India, and then I went to Hong Kong, and I went into mainland China, and then I went back to India. It was like a whole... So anyways, when I was in the airport, I... they have these big screens, and they're showing certain things, like advertisements. So while I was there in the airport, and it wasn't in South India, it was somewhere else, but while I was there in the airport, they were showing this advertisement of you could say, Ramanujacharya and the whole roots and religious culture, in a small advertisement. And they kept on playing it over and over and over again. But that was quite nice. Because, and it's not just nice that, okay, Ramanujacharya, the Murti statue comes up, or they have these advertisements in the airport or something. It's not just nice, but it's actually that which makes humans different than animals. It's not just that's very nice and very culturally pleasing, but it's actually that which separates humans from animals. And what does that mean? It means that the animals and the humans, they have things in common. Animals are eating, right? They have to. Humans, they're also doing that. You go all over this city right now, and it's packed full of restaurants. Means not just Pacific Beach. I'm talking about San Diego County, which there's millions and millions and millions and millions of people here. And in each particular town, it's packed full of restaurants and people eating. And some of them are kind of eating all types of weird stuff. I don't want to say some restaurant I saw today. I don't want to say what they were serving. I mean, I didn't go there, obviously, but I don't want to say what they were serving. It was really gross. Somebody was telling me about it. Anyways, means like kind of special humans eating animals, but they were like, not the usual animals that humans eat, kind of like special animals, and then, anyway, whatever. But so yeah, people are eating. Humans are also eating. Animals are sleeping. Humans are also sleeping. Animals are reproducing or having their family life, right? Means the cats, they give birth to 12 at a time or something like that. Dogs give birth to 12 at a time, something like that. So they're also giving birth and so on. What else? Defending, right? We have these big defense mechanisms in America, military and this and that. But animals also defending, right, with claws and whatever. So there's a similarity there. Now, if a human just elaborately, or you could say in a polished way, does these things, they're sitting at a nice restaurant and there's a nice table there with a decorative cloth on it, and the candles burning, and there's some elaborate, forks and spoons and elaborate arrangements, and so on and so on. If they're just engaging in these same things, then the question is, what makes them different? What makes a human being different than the lower species? And that is the ability to inquire, the ability to ask higher questions. The ability to engage in religion means engage in our mind. Okay, who am I? Am I just this body, right? This material body, or am I the soul? And is there a supreme soul? And on and on and on like that. So that's the difference. And the Vedic literature says that whatever anybody's doing, whether it's in America or India or China or wherever, if they're not engaging themselves in the pursuit of higher truths, the pursuit of Krishna consciousness, the pursuit of the absolute truth, then this is all just elaborate arrangements of sense gratification, which is the same as what the animals are doing, but just an elaborate arrangement. Like if you, so what do you mean? What do you mean? The guys, you don't see a pig there, looking at the stocks, right? You don't see the hog on his what do you call? Laptop. Not, what do they call the Apple one? MacBook. Yeah, you don't see a hog on his MacBook, looking at the stocks, right? You don't see a dog on his iPhone, trying to, order some food, from the local restaurant. What do you mean,
Maybe in the future they will train.
They'll train? Yeah, who knows? So you don't see that, but the business is the same, practically. Like, you could say, oh, why is that person on the stock market? I'm talking about a very materialistic, completely materialistic person. Why are they in the stock market? Why are they in business? Well, they're in business to make lots of money. Okay, well, why are they making lots of money? Well, because they want to enjoy their senses, right? Okay, well, isn't that what lower species are doing, just enjoying their senses? So what's the difference? It's elaborate arrangement. So the Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, is saying, Nayam deho deha bhajam nirloke kashtan kamanarhate vidbhujam ye tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhe brahmasakyam tvanantam. That this is Rishabhadev. And he is the son of Bharat Maharaj, who, India, right, it's named after Bharat, right, Bharat Varsha. So you have Rishabhadev, and you have Bharat Varsha, or you have Bharat Maharaj. And the other 99 sons, he had 100 sons. So anyways, Rishabhadev is there and he's speaking to his sons, 100 sons. And he's about to leave to the forest. So this is the verse he says, Nayam deho deha bhajram naloke. And he says that, my dear sons, he said, you should not engage your whole energy in the pursuits, these lower pursuits, in sense gratification, gratifying the senses. He said, because this is even available to lower life forms. And he mentions hogs and dogs who eat all types of abominable things, because hogs eat anything, and dogs also. Because, we're here in America, you don't see dogs eat anything, but if you give them a chance, they'll also eat some pretty, not pretty things. Eat anything. So he said, they eat abominable things. So he said, you should be like them, but you should engage in what? Tapo divyam. Putra kayena sattvam shuddha brahmasakyam tunat. He should engage in tapo divyam. So what is this tapo divyam? This is divine austerity. Means that we take on some difficulty in our spiritual lives, or in our lives, to in the pursuit of Krishna consciousness. And then what will happen? Brahma saukyam tvanantam. We'll be able to experience this unlimited happiness that is beyond all material happiness. So then what is this austerity, right? What is this austerity? Well, it's austerity. It could be seen to be an austerity to pick up the Bhagavad Gita, right? Of course, it's light. It's not difficult to pick up physically, but mentally, right? Oh, picking up the Bhagavad Gita. But the austerity is to pick it up, or to take it off this bookshelf, pick it up, open it up, crack it open, and read, right? Read a verse, read a purport. That's an austerity, you could say, because we may not be all the time naturally inspired to do that. Just like a child, many of you have children here. Most of you. Some of you don't. But we have one child on the way. Girl. Priya. But a child, a lot of the times, I don't know if it's a problem in India too, but I heard it's a big problem in America, but they don't want to get up in the morning to go to school, right? They're laying there and the mother comes in, okay, it's time to get up and go to school. And they're like, yeah, but just give me like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And 10 minutes go by, okay, it's time to get up and go to school. No, just give me 5, please, 5 more, So it's difficult, right? I don't know if it's a problem in India, but yes? Everywhere?
But they don't say this nicely.
They don't say nicely, they say get up. Yeah.
Sprinkle water.
Sprinkle water.
Sprinkle water, whatever comes.
One devotee told me that he really liked sweets. And he said when he was a kid, he used to put, like chocolate, and then he'd go to sleep with the chocolate, just to taste it. Anyway, it was a side note, but I thought that was... But to get up in the morning, it's an austerity, right? And especially, right, for younger children or teenagers or whatever, it's difficult. But they have to do it in order to go to school, in order to become educated, in order to, right? Or even to go to work. Sometimes maybe we don't feel like getting up and going to work. Maybe we went to sleep late and we're like, you know what, I'm tired. I don't want to get up. But what happens if we don't get up and go to work, Especially if we do that a few times, the boss is going to say, the door is there, get out, get lost, right? So it's an austerity to get up sometimes, to read the Bhagavad Gita, to chant Hare Krishna. Sometimes, right, we have these beads. Sometimes, of course, to pick up the beads, it's very easy. They're light. They're not heavy. And also to chant. I mean, how difficult is to chant, right? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's not a very difficult thing to do. Just repeating some, right? But sometimes it could be seen as an austerity, that we may not be so attracted, we may be tired, or this or that, or our mind's all over the place, or we're very busy with our work, or this and that. But to somehow or other perform the austerity of reading Bhagavad Gita, chanting, coming to the temple. You could say it's an austerity to get into the car, to drive here, to deal with the traffic. It's easier just to kind of, all right, I'm tired, I'm going to sit home and, right, do something else. So these are examples of austerities that we could do that will really help, actually. Help us elevate our consciousness more and more and more and more and more to higher and higher levels of Krishna consciousness. So, and Srila Prabhupada points out in the purport that there's no university for it. How to teach this, what's the soul, right? There's no university for that. Of course, we have ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but there's no university. So that presents a problem for children and for adults. That a lot of the times they're not raised with the proper knowledge, or they're raised with partial knowledge. And maybe you could say they are raised with the knowledge, but they're not raised like a lot of people from India, for example. They may be raised with the knowledge, but because there's some lacking in the application of the knowledge, they may not be able to have the strength to actually live the real, live by the real principles of Bhagavad Gita. Like, for example, men in India and women, the men are expected to be not. They're expected to, before marriage, not be. Like brahmachari, they're expected to live by moral principles, and not have a bunch of girlfriends, this and that. Have self-control. That they're expected to do that. And same with the women, the girls, they're also expected to do that, be chaste. Which specifically focusing on the men of India. Now, if their parents tell them, hey, be chaste, live by these moral principles, have self-control. But if the parents don't give the boys the means to have a higher experience or have a higher happiness, then there's problem. They can't control themselves, and it becomes problematic. So it's not enough just to have knowledge. Means as adults or as those having children, but we have to practice the knowledge by which we have those higher experiences or higher happiness, by which we could actually follow the principles of the Bhagavad Gita. So it's important that, because there's not a university, that the parents, they teach their children. Who else is going to teach them? They're not. Are they going to go to school, at the high school, middle school, and the teacher's going to teach them Bhagavad Gita principles or about the soul? They're not going to teach them that. So then that leaves it to us. It means the parents to teach the children. And also that means that they have to know. they also have to know. Because what if the child says, well, the Bhagavad Gita says this, but I don't really, how does that make sense? So the parent has to be able to explain it, right? So, and therefore the parents are supposed to be like gurus, actually, of the students. It says the mother is the Adi Guru, the first. Anyways, so just a few more things, and then we're going to end. So Prabhupada says that without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. So the soul is what gives the body value. And as soon as the soul is gone, people don't want anything to do with the body. Right? Burn immediately or bury. So, but while the soul's there, that is what is animating the body. And again, it's a problem in modern civilization because people they equate opulence. Opulence equals happiness. Means as much money as we could get and other opulences that money afford, that equals happiness. But that's not true. And that's never going to be true. Because we may have all the opulence in the world, but if there's a hole in our heart, if there's a void in our heart by our being godless or semi-godless or whatever, then nothing's going to fill that void. We could have all the opulence in the world. And there's people who do. And they jump off buildings. Just like maybe some of you heard, somebody told me. But Miss America. So what does this mean, Miss America? It means the competition, beauty competition, right? So beauty competition, who's the most beautiful woman? Of course, the whole thing's weird, why having such competitions in the first place, but whatever, that's another story. But they had this competition, and she won 2019. Miss America means out of all the people competed, there's probably a huge competition to get into the competition. And then once they get into the competition, there's probably a huge, amount of girls who are trying to win. And then she won, Miss America. Considered by the judges to be, or however they come up with it, the most beautiful woman in America. 2019, that wasn't very long ago, just a few years. And then, just recently, I don't know, a week ago or whatever, and they said she jumped off the building in New York City, Manhattan, and committed suicide. And then you say, oh, why did she do that? And then it came out some of the things she was saying, like she wrote some things. And it said that she was saying that when I tell people I'm 30, which is not very old, when I tell people I'm 30, I cringe sometimes. Means she feels like she's getting older, and she doesn't like it. And it's like, and she made the point that the beauty industry, once these girls who are considered very beautiful, once they start getting older, then the beauty industry, the media, they don't want anything to do with them because they're getting older. And then there's new ones, new girls who are taking their place. And sometimes these actresses, Hollywood, for example, some of them, they get older, their bodies get older, gray hair and this and that, whatever. And they don't leave the house. They just stay in the house. So she was feeling the pressure of modern society and her getting older. So that was indication, one of the reasons she just took her life. That's one example. There's a lot of other examples. So there's obviously a void there within her. But Krishna consciousness, so what? You become old. So what? The body becomes old. So what? That's what the body does. It becomes old. Nothing to lament about, nothing to cry about, nothing to become emotional about, nothing to take your life about. The body gets old. It's like Sureshwar here has his nice plaid jacket there, right? Who bought that for you, Jeshri? Anyways, he's got the nice plaid jacket there. Now, when there becomes a hole in it, when the buttons break, right? He doesn't start crying. He doesn't start lamenting. It's just a jacket. He gets a new one. Or he keeps the old one. Whatever. So, that's the beauty of Krishna consciousness, that it doesn't put one in such just really like dark states. And therefore, it is joyfully performed, everlasting and joyfully performed. So, in conclusion, we should try to read the Bhagavad Gita as much as possible. Listen to the Bhagavad Gita. There's recordings of it, classes of it, and recitations of it. We should try to chant as much as possible and come to the temple as much as possible. And you could say, be kind to ourselves and engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness. So, all right, does anybody have any questions or comments? You have something? Okay. What about Pawan? You have something? No? Okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, we'll move on to the next part. So we'll have Tulsi Puja, Arti, and then after that, the curtains will open shortly, and then they'll serve out dinner as well. So. All right, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.